So welcome to our Tuesday evening call in English. This is the STI Unleashed International follow-up and closing training. So thank you for everyone joining the call. We have people from Bali and Surabaya, from Jakarta. I think we have some people from Semarang and a few other locations. And then we have some people, I think, from Italy. So thank you all for being on the call. I'm going to go through the presentation, and then afterwards, if we have time, which we should do, we can have a question and answer session. Daniel, maybe Simmer and Mr. Nathan will answer a few of your questions, and we can get some open sharing of what you learn. Perfect. So I'm going to start right now. 1 second. Okay, great. Perfect. So we talk a lot about follow-up in our business. So we spend lots of time inviting people. Maybe we spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours doing a presentation. But then lots of us, including myself, haven't spent the time doing effective follow-up in the future. So today is going to be mainly about the follow-up, and then we'll end with closing. So lots of you may have heard the stat that 80% of all prospects join after the 5th exposure. So an exposure is an interaction. So an interaction might be a video, it might be a meeting, it could be sending a presentation, it could be speaking to your upline. So 80% of all prospects join after the 5th exposure, but the important point is 50% of all associates give up following up after the 2nd exposure. So we do the presentation, we follow back with them, and then after that, we think, oh, maybe they're not interested, or maybe I'm pushing them, and then we stop the follow-up. So there's a huge amount of revenue and team that we miss out on by not doing that follow-up. So 5 to 10 exposures or appointments for a prospect to join the business. So some of you might think that that's bad news, but it's actually good news. So lots of serious leaders do join straight away. Some people are driver personalities. Mr. Nathan, Mr. William, Mr. Sam, very focused. They know what they want and they go get it. But that is that's about 10%, a little bit less than 10% of all the people who will do USANA. Lots of people like that, their personality can be very successful. But lots of people will need lots of exposures. So why is that good? So if someone has had 5 to 10 exposures, it means that they are genuinely interested. It means that they know lots about USANA. They probably understand maybe the compensation plan. They understand Essentials. They understand who their upline is, what support they're going to get, and where they can go to get the resources that they need. So they are interested, they are qualified, and they have made an informed decision. And they're prepared to begin powerfully. Some of you might have found that you've had people join the business and then they disappear. So some of that is because maybe they joined so fast, they didn't get a strong foundation. So if someone wants to join, we're not going to say no, of course, but we've got to follow up with them and we've got to keep continuing to follow up. So there are no bad prospects, only the wrong time. So for example, when I joined, I went to Bill and Jenny's house, the #1 income earner for USANA, who is actually our top upline from New Zealand, 17-star diamond director. And I didn't join because at that time, my finances didn't match and I didn't understand the compensation plan. But about a month later or 5 weeks later, Mr. Nathan gave me a call. I remember I was driving and I put my phone on hands-free. I was driving down to the center of Auckland and I just got paid, I think maybe that day or the day afterwards, and I had a really good week in my sales job. So I had the money to join. So I joined over the phone from memory with a 500-point pack. But the month before, I didn't have the cash for a 500-point pack. If Nathan hadn't have followed up with me, then I wouldn't be here now. So it's really important to get that there is a time when people want to join and a time when they can't. If someone like me, I'd been let go from my job after a few years, then I started getting serious. Some people, if they've just got married or maybe they've just paid their children's fees for university, maybe they're not ready that day, that week, that month, that year. But over time, there's going to be time when people are in the buying window. Sometimes they're looking, sometimes they're not. That's okay. So what's important is that there needs to be a process. So for yourself, you got to create a preparation ritual to control your emotions before you follow up. So when I used to work in telesales, they had a rule that you had to smile while you were ringing the telephone. So that when you answered the phone, you'd be smiling like I just started doing now, and you can hear a more positive voice on the other end of the call. Because your emotion will transfer. Like they say, energy transfers. One of the reasons why I love Regina and lots of people have good connection with Regina is because her energy is strong and pure of heart. What a pure of heart young lady she is. Because of that, people, they feel her energy and they trust her. So you want to be a little bit more excited than you would normally be on the call. And if you're with someone who is super excited, you want to be even more excited. If someone is very low key, then maybe you can drop the excitement just a little bit. But you want to generally, to the normal person, be slightly more excited. So when you're following up with the people, it's important that we want everybody to join. We want everyone to get big packs. We want everyone to get all the products that we recommend. Maybe the person has an illness and we want to recommend 4 or 5 of the products. Maybe they just want one product. Us trying to push them into buying more products than they want, or to buy a 3BC, not a 1BC, may not be serving them at the beginning. What might be better is to show them some more information, maybe to show them the charts of the recommended products, introduce them to the Sanoviv website, maybe introduce them again to one of their uplines, maybe send a video for 2 of the products that you recommend that they weren't going to get. And that can actually have people want to buy more or join because you've slowed them down. So you want the exposures, you want the interactions to be super fast. If you have a call with them once every week, their excitement will wane. I've experienced this in the last few weeks. Me and my girlfriend have been doing quite a lot of following up and presentations. And what we've seen is when you don't speak to someone or have a set call fixed at the end of the call, then the chances that the person is going to join is less. It becomes just another thing on their list to do. They forgot why they were excited. So we want to minimize the time between appointments because time kills possibility. And you want to keep them in the conversation. So you want to be organizing the call, organizing the message, organizing the video, and then organizing a time to catch up or speak to them. So this is a logical process, and you want to send people information step by step. So maybe speak with your upline about what is going to be generally the first few interactions that you have. So when you're talking to people about the business, there's different ways to share what we're doing and why we're doing it and why it could be good for them. So lots of people recommend products to people. And if you do that, then you find customers. If you recommend the Coconut maybe for heart health or the Vision X for eyesight, then maybe they buy that. If you recommend the business, then you might find business partners. And also you might find some customers if they don't want to do the business. But if you lead with the vision, if you lead with the vision of STI Unleashed, if you lead with the vision of Dr. Myron Wentz, a world free from pain and suffering, and to have the healthiest family on earth, if you lead with the vision of what their life can look like in the future. So when I was in USANA, when I joined, I was earning pretty good money, but I was working all the time. I now work quite a lot now, but I choose when I wake up, I choose when I go to bed, I choose when I have my lunch, I choose everything. Once you've been in Usana for a while and you have a steady income coming in, your life is very flexible. People don't have that. If I'd have known that years before, I would have taken action sooner. It's really important to share the vision and actually to ask questions to find out what's important to them. So it's important to share the dream and the vision, but it's also important to share the vehicle. Okay. So 3 things that is really important for follow-up. 1 is to be organized. 1 is to be consistent. And the other one is to be persistent. So you might be good at 1 or 2 of these. If you're good at all 3, it makes a huge difference. So being organized is having structures in place. It's being prepared. It's having the notes about the person. So maybe you've done the first call with them. Maybe you made some notes. What did they like? What was interesting to them? What do you think would be good resources to send them? If you take track of that, it makes a huge difference, and it also gives you confidence to do with what you're going to speak to the person next. And more importantly, you know where you are in the conversation. So being organized has been one of my weaknesses in the past. And I would find that I felt I was always busy, but I didn't know exactly what I should be doing. So one of the big reasons for that was a lack of organization, even though I was persistent. So having some structures in place is really important. So you'll probably know 1 or 2 people in your team or your leaders who are really good at that. Reach out to them and maybe organize a call to sort out some good steps to being organized and also being consistent. So being consistent here is more like having integrity. It's saying what you're going to do, and then you do what you said you would do. So if you want to build trust with your prospect, with your customer, with your friend, with your online new friend, doing what you say you would do is professional, and it's consistent and has integrity. So next, you want to be persistent. So people are busy, and the chances are you're not their top priority. So this is something that for me, I found this last week. I was getting frustrated with one of my girlfriend's friends in Canada. She's very successful with her personal training. She runs a couple of gyms, but she didn't reply back quickly. And Eric Worry from GoPro says it's very easy, and lots of leaders do that. They make their prospects wrong. Whereas prospects have family, they have maybe less time sometimes than we have. If someone's already an established USANA leader, they probably have some level of time freedom that the average person doesn't have. So it's important to put yourself in their shoes and actually sometimes people are busy, and we don't need to be their number 1 priority. Maybe their religion, maybe their family, maybe their work, maybe their social life, maybe their sport is their main thing. It doesn't mean USANA can't be something that's in their life. And we need to be respectful of not pushing them, but also not taking it personally when they don't reply quickly or if it seems like they don't care so much. So you want to have the view that they're busy, they care. That's okay. That's all we need. So be flexible, and we've got to dance with the conversation. It doesn't always go one way. Great. So if you look down at this chart here, you've probably seen it being drawn at the board if you've been to the USANA office or maybe in a previous presentation. This is the edification triangle. So edification is ABC. Easy as 1, 2, 3. So for example, in our team, whoever your sponsor is or top leader would be A, the expert. So for example, Mr. Nathan was my sponsor. So Mr. Nathan would be A, the expert. I would be B, and then my friend from social media or my person that I meet in a networking event would be number C, would be the prospect. So my job, being B, is to introduce the expert to the prospect as positively and real as possible. So you want your edification to be explaining the person's success, maybe their skill, how helpful they are, or what a great guy or girl they are. If you introduce your expert to your prospect well, your prospect will respect the expert. And the reason that is you have already built a relationship with your prospect. B and C now know each other. So like Mr. Williams says, our business is kind of like direct sales, but direct sales is not the most effective. So you as the bridge, we're all going to be B most of the time. We're going to introduce our upline to the guest, to the prospect. The power comes from you introducing the upline. It means that you don't have to sell yourself and the expert doesn't need to sell himself because you've already done that. So people who work closely with their upline and their upline sponsor are more likely to succeed. Lone wolf, some of them who are very successful alphas, they can succeed over time. However, they can die alone or eventually they realize it's not effective, so they learn to join the pack. So rule number 1, the intention of every appointment is to book the next appointment. So before you get on a call, before you speak to anyone, normally in life, we don't think, what is the intention of what I'm doing? When you go shopping and you write a shopping list, you have an intention. I want to buy bread, milk, and cauliflower cheese, for example. If you go there within a shopping list, you're likely to get what you wrote. If you don't write a shopping list when you go to the shops, you'll end up with all this extra food that you hadn't planned for, and there's no process, and it affects your budget. So just like this, it's important to have an intention. You got to know why you're doing what you're doing. So instead of trying to close someone or having someone learn X, Y, Z, if you focus on you have your call, you have your appointment, but your main job is to book the next appointment. If you do that, then you'll never need to chase a prospect. Because if you said, oh, hey, John, we're speaking at 2:30, great, on Thursday, awesome, see you then. If the next call doesn't happen, you're not chasing them because you already organized the call and you want them to give the time of the call. If you end up chasing people, it's only because you didn't set up the next appointment. Also, there's a loss of posture. So when you're trying to get them somewhere, when you're trying to push people to join, when you're trying to force the outcome, then it doesn't work. So the first step is to never leave the scene of an appointment before setting up the next appointment. In stone, the exact date, the exact time, the exact location. Also, it's important if you use Google Calendars and your prospect is tech savvy and they can do Google, then send them a Google invite. It shows you're professional and it also makes it in stone and it's good for your organization. So like it says, they relate to you as a professional when you act like that. So when you set up the next appointment, once you find out what information they need, you're going to give them something. So you give them something physically, or maybe you send them a video to look at and review before the next appointment. So maybe use the Rise of the Entrepreneur movie, which is great. I watched that again a couple of days ago. Very good. You could even watch that sometimes with your prospect, but generally you will send it to them. When you say that, you say, if I sent you the Rise of the Entrepreneur movie right now, when could you realistically review it by? So then don't say anything. Let them reply first. If they say, next Tuesday, okay, great. So you'll have a chance to review it by Tuesday, right? They'll say yes. So you say, okay, great. So how about if we speak on Tuesday evening at X time? You'll be free, right? If they say yes, great. You want to get 3 yeses. So the first yes is that they're going to watch it. The second one is when, and then you're going to recreate the time and the place and the date again so that it's fixed. So then you actually send it, say, okay, great. I'll send it to you right now, and we'll go over any questions you have. If you're sending a longer video, or if you're sending messages to someone and you want the view of them, of you to be strong, ask them to make notes. So if you include those 3 questions, those 3 statements, there's an 80% chance that they will actually watch the video. So once you've sorted the time, once it's fixed, get off the call. You don't need to stay on the call for an overlong period of time. Busy people have other things to do. Okay, so if you do this, it creates compliance and it establishes you as the leader while making them feel in charge, because they're the ones who are going to tell you when they're going to be able to review the material by. So they've said next Tuesday. So you organize the call that works around them. So like we said before, you got to be consistent. You got to have integrity. You got to do what you said you're going to do. So you call or you meet them when you said you would, not early, not late. So one thing you could do is to set a Google reminder in your phone, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes before the call, if it's about messaging someone. If it's about meeting someone, maybe an hour or 2 hours before, you set a reminder that you have to go meet the person. And if you need to reschedule, do it at least a day in advance, 24 hours in advance. And if they need to cancel or reschedule, get their communication. So what that means is if they've said, my child is sick, or I've got to stay at work, or it's the end of the month, I have to finish my project, that's a real thing. If we judge them or make them wrong for wasting our time or something like that, it's not going to work well. We need to be patient and we have to get what they're saying. So you want to recreate their reason. And it's important to say, no problem. No problem is the magic 2 words to put somebody at ease. Then you want to rebook with another date and time immediately. And you want to assume that the reason that they're canceling or need to reschedule
Hey guys, I think Dan's internet just went out. Let me just quickly check with him. I'll just put the recording on.
So when you organize the time to speak to someone, that's when you call them. That's when you meet them. So if you need to reschedule, you want to reschedule 24 hours minimum in advance as a professional courtesy. And this next part is really important. If someone cancels or they need to reschedule, you want to get their communication. Their reason for changing or canceling is valid. It's very easy as USANA leaders and USANA people for us to value our time, because we've now got some level of time freedom, or we're working towards time freedom. When people then take our time, especially me, I can naturally get frustrated. However, it's really important to get that people are busy. People have lives, people have kids, people have jobs, people have deadlines. So if they cancel, don't put your brain of going that something's wrong, or maybe they're not interested, or do they like you, or am I being pushy? Focus on assuming the best. So it's important to say the phrase, not a problem. Not a problem or no problem is the phrase to say to put someone at ease, and also they'll realize that they're not being made wrong. So you rebook the time, you rebook the date immediately. That's not a problem. And then ask for the time and the date. If you don't do that, then you end up chasing them. So asking questions is so vital. So if we're not asking questions of our guests, we have no idea where they're at in a conversation. If you go for a meal and the waiter doesn't ask you how your food is, say the food is bad, maybe it's cold, maybe there's a fly in the soup. If the waiter doesn't come and ask you, maybe you don't say. But maybe you never eat in that restaurant ever again. If the waiter comes up and says, "How is your food?" It's kind of common. The waiter comes up, the waitress comes up, "How is your food?" "Oh yeah, it's nice, it's fine," even if it's not so good. But if it's terrible, then you would say. If something's not going well, you want to know in advance. And also you want to know positive things. You want to know why they're interested. You want to know what they like best. You want to know these things so that you can speak to what they want on the call. So, for example, you want to be curiously engaged and childlike. So you want to have awe. You want to be interested in them. So things like, "Oh, can you say a little bit more about that? And what would it be like if you had time freedom? If you had an extra 5 million rupiah coming in your bank account extra month, what difference would that make to your life? How would you feel if you could put your children through university just with your USANA profit?" We got to be asking questions and get people to see the vision, and ask real questions to find out where somebody is at. Tony Robbins would call it a test close as well. You want to be seeing where people are at. You're touching base with them. So you want to get in their world. So recreation is super important. So if someone says, "Oh yeah, I really like USANA, but the multivitamin is a little bit expensive." Okay, great. You repeat. No problem. So what you're saying is you think that the multivitamin is a little bit expensive, but you really like USANA. Awesome. Thank you for letting me know. That brings up a question. So if you phrase it like that, and then you repeat back to them, and then you say, that brings up a question, it makes it that what they have told you is not a criticism. It is not something that needs to be broken down. It's not something that you need. It's not a big objection. It's just a question. So turning things into questions is really important. And then the questions that you ask is really important. So you want to listen for what matters to them. So they will share everything you need to know, and you tailor the way your interaction goes based on the questions you ask. So you want to navigate the conversation with questions, but you got to let them drive. So one of the things that I find I do is when it's the beginning of my call with someone, I naturally get butterflies. I naturally hope that the call's going to go really well, because my brain is focused on me and my brain is focused on the outcome instead of being focused on what would the person on the phone like to get from Usana, or what is happening in the world of the guest on the phone or in person, or how is the family life, or how is their poorly mum doing this week. If we make the call about us or the follow-up about us, it shows in our communication. So I found that I've had a big breakthrough in that in the last couple of weeks since knowing that I was going to be doing the follow-up section, because being weird doesn't work. Being focused on the outcome and being attached to it doesn't work. And trying to be sneaky and clever doesn't work. There's nothing wrong with being organized and knowing the sort of things that you're going to say, but you want the conversation to flow. So never, ever ask general questions. So never, ever ask general questions. What did you think is going to make someone become analytical? Do you have any questions can leave someone being blank in their mind? Or they might have 50 questions. Sometimes the prospects or the guests, they want to sound smart, or maybe they want to join Usana, maybe they want to buy Essentials, but they don't want to seem too easy. So they want to sound smart, maybe they seem too easy, so maybe they just give you lots of questions, and then you're so busy answering all their questions that they don't really care about, that you don't actually find out what they really think. So as it says here, general questions overwhelm the brain. It gives too many options and it creates confusion. So confused people say no or make excuses to prevent decision making. So in Indonesia, people are more likely to either not reply or to make excuses, because the culture, in my experience, doesn't like saying no too much. However, you have to get a strong yes, and then you know that it's real. So you need to be specific in the questions that you're asking. So say you've done a presentation, this is over the phone, or maybe it's in person. During the presentation, if you do a presentation at the office with the PowerPoint will ask the questions are they a 1 or a 2? So a 1 is someone who is interested and wants to join, and 2 is interested but wants more information. There is no 3 on here. That's on purpose. So you give them the options of, are they ready to get started, or you are really interested and you want to have some further questions answered. If the presenter has done that job, or your upline has done that job, then you just have to ask them which they are. So lots of people are scared of closing or asking people to join, but if you've just followed this process, it makes it a lot easier. So how this would look is, great. So you're interested, but you'd like to hear some more, or you have some questions you'd like to answer before moving forward. Is that right? So the is that right part, you want to go up at the end of that sentence. You want to be positive, not is that right? Is that right? Great. So you're interested, but you'd like to hear some more, or you have some questions, but you'd like to answer before moving forward. Is that right? The chance of them saying yes will be higher, and then also you'll get clear answers from them. So Eric Worre's favorite question over his 30 years of training is, so let me ask you a question. What was your favorite part? So what that does is, even if someone is not that positive, it brings people's brain to something positive. Also, people want to be polite. So if you want someone to give you a positive response, you got to ask a question that encourages something positive. So yeah, what was your favorite part? Is great to add. So great. Next part is great. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your level of interest in USANA business and products? So you might say it something like, so on a scale of 1, having no interest, and 10, being super excited and ready to start, where are you at? Or on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no interest and 10 is you're ready to start the business, where are you? So they will give you an answer. So maybe they say a 6. Anything over a 1 is positive. If they answer a 2, if they answer a 3, they just need more information. They have a level of interest. You got to find out what their real concern is. So based on what you said was important to you and what your goals were at the moment, can you see how USANA could help you achieve that goal? Great. So is there anything else you need to know before getting started? So that is a great question. It's very direct. It's not rude. And you're being of service. So they will either tell you what the concern is, or they'll say no. If they say no, awesome, let's get started. And then you start filling out the paperwork, or you log onto the computer and you get their information. So you do not ask them if they would like to join. Join is a scary word. You join a cult. You join the army. You join the Foreign Legion. You don't want people to join. You want them to partner with you. You want them to be a team, be in our team. You want to improve their health, but they don't want to join. So you've got to be prepared before you're on the call, before you have the presentation. It's important to be organized. You want to have the price lists. You want to have the enrollment forms. You want to have the enrollment pack lists. And if you're speaking to someone from a foreign country, you got to download the price list already on your phone or your computer. If you have their price list, you can talk about their points. You can talk about their conversion rate. Also, it's important to know what their currency is. If it's Singapore, then it's dollars. If it's Philippines, it's peso. So you got to know those things. Otherwise, it makes you look like you're not an expert in their market. Also, you got to have if you're in Australia, America, the Western countries, you got to have the link to the USANA True Health Assessment. Also, you can go to USANA AskTheScientist.com. There's also a mini health assessment on that page. The recommendations is normally 1 or 2 products. So if you know someone has a serious health concern, you might want to give them personalized recommendations, but it's good to send them the links in the first place. True Health Assessment will give them a very excellent recommendations of what's most important. And then if you're speaking to someone who's mainly speaks Indonesian, you'll send them Regina McLeod's Bahasa Indonesia 1 or 3 business center video. Or if you are speaking in English, then you can send Simmer's 1 versus 3 business center video. And then Mr. Nathan also has a very good video on the importance of why you start with 3BC. So tools that you need is, I'll go through a few. So if you know these tools and you can share them with other people, your team can then share them with other people. If you're the expert, but your team doesn't know where to find the answers, they're always going to come to you instead of going to the tool that you need. So Ask the Scientist is probably my favorite website. It's easy. You can copy and paste the results. You can even copy and paste them into Google Translate. And we actually now have Ask the Scientist for some of the questions in Bahasa Indonesia. Hybrid Solutions is a Facebook group that hopefully you are all in. If you're not in it, it's about 7,900 USANA associates. It's a private group, and you can use their search facility. So say someone you could put in testimony breast. If you wanted to have testimonies about maybe breast cancer or issues to do with nodes or nodules or something like that to do with the breast. Or if you had someone who wanted recommendations, you could put the word recommend and prostate if you wanted to find out recommendations for male prostate health. So hybrid solutions, you need somebody who is already an associate in the hybrid solutions to request you be in the group. So you can't add yourself, you need your upline to add you. And then in America, they will add you. So importantly, it's a American-based group for America, Canada. So you have to ask questions in English. They won't answer if you do in Bahasa. So San Aviv is the USANA Rumah Sakit, the hospital in New Mexico. So that hospital is excellent. It's quite expensive to go to, but the research and the results and the recommendations on that website is very powerful. So I think USANA Associates pay $11.95 a year, and you can get lots of different recommendations from the San Aviv website for exercise, for nutrition, and for supplements. And also you can send YouTube videos in all the different languages from the USANA Indonesia or USANA Inc. websites. And you got to show them how to use the tools. If they know how to use the tools, it's great because then they can see themselves doing it. Okay. So duplication is vital, and the follow-up is the first training. If you're organized and respectful, your team will be organized and respectful. They will follow the way that they will follow up with. If you just freestyle it and wing it, they will wing it. If you follow the system, so will your new associates. So it doesn't matter what works, it only matters what duplicates. Super flash presentations are for us. They're for us to feel smart. They're for us to learn some things, but it doesn't copy. Everyone will go, oh, can I do that? That's what's nice. If you look at these presentations that we're using here, people can recreate these presentations like we're on now in their own words. But the 99% of everything we need to say is on these slides. So when someone does join, you want to welcome your new team. So if they're a preferred customer, you want to acknowledge their decision to choose USANA and let them know what they can count on you for. So maybe you can help them, train them for how to use their auto order. Maybe you promise to send them new research whenever it comes out. Maybe you can do health checks for them after 6 weeks or 8 weeks after they have joined. For associates, you want to welcome them to the team. You want to validate their decision to choose USANA. You want to give them the resources. You want to give them the tools. You want to schedule your first hour in the business training. So that's vital. People need to know what they can count on you for, what they're responsible for, what you're responsible for. If you don't get that first hour in the business training done, a majority or quite a few of your new members could easily disappear. You want to be asking people in that first hour in the business, do they want to go fast or slow? Wherever that is okay. But someone who goes fast, you go fast. If someone is slow, you need to make some boundaries and see what's going to work best for both of them. So you want to plug them into the team trainings. We have online trainings in Bahasa every morning. We have a couple of trainings in English every week. We have trainings at the office in New Zealand. We have trainings at the office in Australia, in Indonesia, in America. And you want to get clear on which ones they're going to commit to and how many hours a week they can commit. You want to give them the edification script for yourself or for your upline. And you want to start on the lifetime matching bonus, the PPP bonus, as soon as possible. You really want to get that first meeting done and have that first blitz session as soon as possible. Okay, great. So I'm going to come out of this presentation here and we can do a little bit of Q&A before the before the end of the call. Now, I'm just gonna take off the video and maybe we can take off the mute and we can have a quick chat. Hello, everybody. Okay. So some of you, so just so you know, everyone, we are now on. Yes.
Just mute everybody and let them unmute themselves because it will get.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. William. So I want to acknowledge that it's 10:57 now. So we started the call at 10.
Yeah, you're in Bali. We're not. It's 9:57 here.
There we go.
Jadi kamu kerjanya jualan produk itu atau gimana?
Sama cateringan.
Cateringan gimana?
So I'm just going to mute everybody again.
Iya toh.
Hello there.
Ada pegawai dua orang.
Daniel, you need to mute everybody.
I understand. Thank you. My computer just shut off, so I'm going to do that now.
Okay.
Ocha, thank you.
Sama aku promosi itu bukan sampai 200 kotak nasi itu ayam bakar. Nah, itu waktu benteng leader ulang tahun pas tanggal 17. Ulang tahun pangkat. Kenaikan pangkat. Biasanya tiap hari kan, tiap hari kadang 30.
Sorry. Hello there.
Anak-anak kos juga suka makan situ.
Sorry. Hello there. If you could just put yourself on mute 1 second.
Ya ada pegawai kedua. Ada.
Jadi dari Bandung ke sini tujuannya jualan atau catering sebenarnya?
Okay, so I've got it, Camille.
Ini lurus.
1 second. Thank you. Okay, great. So I've got my first question is from Camille, and her question is that we said 5 to 7 exposures in 7 to 10 days. What if they cancel always? When do you give up? So that's a really good question. So you want the exposures to go at that speed. However, you can't always control the speed of which people do reply. So if someone isn't replying, we have a script which we can add in one of the groups we can do after this, or maybe I can write it, where you mention, is everything okay? Or we had our time organized. Did something come up? Or basically you don't put the responsibility on them. You can fall on your own sword and you can kind of touch base with them to see if they're okay. If they then don't reply, then they're also showing something to you. And occasionally things happen. And people lose their internet package, maybe they go on holiday, all sorts of different things happen. So generally you want 5 to 7 as soon as possible. However, maybe the interactions go slower. And if that happens, that happens. And occasionally people will communicate and they will say, hey, I'm not interested. You can even, if someone isn't interested, you can ask them, am I interested or are you not interested, in a polite way. So what I'll do is after this call, I'll put in the group the GoPro recommendation of exactly what to say when someone isn't replying to you. But in general, you talk about no problem. Oh, if you're not interested in USANA, no problem. It's important. Your friendship is important to me. Just let me know either way. It gives them a get out of jail free clause. It gives them a opportunity to not look bad. And then if they still don't reply, then that's on them. But you can still touch base with them. The other thing that you can say is, oh, I haven't heard from you for a while. So maybe you're not interested to have a USANA chat right now. Would it be good with you if I followed up with you or sent you some relevant information in the coming weeks or months? You could say something like that as well. But in general, you want to follow the GoPro script. If people follow the 8 steps of inviting, the chances are that that won't happen. Okay, great. Does anyone else have a question? If they do, they can unmute themselves. If not, then I'll probably go through another example. So something else that you could say is, say it's Deep. Say Deep is not replying to my messages. You could say something like, hey Deep, hope this finds you well. The last we spoke, you were interested in hearing more about our opportunity. However, I haven't heard from you over the last few messages, and I don't want to bother you if you've changed your mind or if you're no longer interested. Sometimes people just get busy or something happens and they are unable to, they are unable to respond, but still interested. So sometimes people are actually not interested. That's okay. You can you let me know which one you are? Either way is okay. I just don't know where we stand, so I don't want to annoy you if it's something that you don't want to be interested in. Okay. Cool. So apparently you guys can't unmute yourselves. I don't believe I've pressed the mute button, but we can go through.
We can, and I think you've unmuted everyone.
Lovely. Great.
All right.
So does anyone have any burning questions? Or if anyone's having trouble with unmuting, then they can put their question in the chat group.
Let's see.
That was quite a lot of information to get through, so hopefully I wasn't speaking too fast.
No, it was great.
Thank you so much.
All right, I think if anyone, if nobody has any questions, I think we can wrap it up.
Perfect. Well, I'll give you guys another minute just in case you have any questions. So what I got from, oh, someone is speaking now. Is that Mr. Nathan? Or?
Can you hear me?
Hello there.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do, what I wanted to say is, we're not in the business of chasing people. We're looking for the people who are looking. So if you talk to 10 people, 3 are looking, 7 say no. It's not personal. Some people are just not looking for something in their life. They can complain about their life, but they're not looking. You're looking for the people who have a vision for life, who want something better. Every night, people are praying for a better life. They're praying for income. They're praying to have a better health. So all we are is a solution to the problem. We're only looking for the people who are looking. We're not looking for everybody. And when we take away the social pressure of its rejection, there's no rejection. They're not rejecting you. They're not looking for an opportunity. That's why when you edify third party, you edify upline, you edify mentor, and they say no, they don't want to see your mentor. It's got nothing to do with you. But if you go direct and they say no, then people will get insecure and take it personal. So,
Mr. William, could you explain your Christmas present analogy to do with that? Of giving someone a gift?
Well, I think it's better looking at, you're on an airplane and the air hostess comes up to you and says, would you like tea or coffee? Now, if they ask you, do you want tea or coffee, and you say no, are you going to get offended, or would you just get it's a no? There's no emotional attachment. So it's just you've got a gift called Usana, and if you offer it to somebody and they don't want it, you still own the gift. It's not personal. The only reason why some people take it personal is they're too busy being direct. And And when you are direct and you're not successful yet, sometimes we can feel like a fraud, where we feel we're being fake. Like, oh, I'm expanding my company, and people go, oh, so how much money do you make? Well, I'm just started. It feels really weird, right? So if you say, but my friend William's expanding his company from America, he's from New Zealand, and he's expanding his company into Indonesia, and he's looking for a couple of key people. And I don't know if this is for you, but if I got you an appointment with William, maybe this can benefit you and your family, and you send a photo of me and you, then what happens is the photo creates credibility. You put the focus on me. I then do a three-way call or a presentation, and I then talk to the person, and I'm expanding into Surabaya, or I'm expanding into Semarang, or I'm expanding into Makassar. We're expanding in every area that Usana legally is in. So if you tell them that I'm expanding into Makassar, then I'm expanding into Makassar. So then you put the focus on me, or Nathan, or whoever it is you're working with. And then you don't feel anxiety. You don't, and we've got different scripts that we can give you that text you how to text somebody in different situations that can help you send a text. And when somebody texts you back, you've got time to send a text to us, say, this is what they say, is what will I reply? And then we tell you what the reply is. And then you're not alone when you contact people, because you're doing it together. And it's not as scary as people think it is. It's actually quite easy, and it's a lot of fun. And then the business starts growing, and then the people start joining, and then before you know it, both sides of your business are growing, and you're making money, and you've got a team member going. The business is exciting when we stop overthinking too much.
Yes, so great. What I get from that as well is when you keep building momentum, and also what I've learned as well recently is to do with, if you always have team members going for the lifetime matching bonus, it's a great way to encourage you to be effective with your follow-up, because you have to lead by example, and you also have to lead your team. So if at all times in your Usana journey, you're following up for you and for your team for the lifetime matching bonuses, then you're always going to have that incentive to keep on going. So yeah, that's lovely. Thank you, Mr. William. That's great. Does anyone else, it's 11:08 now. Does anyone else have something else to say? If not, I'd like us to take a team picture. Everyone can take themselves off. Mr.
I actually had to go out the platform to come back in to unmute myself, because for some reason people can't unmute themselves.
I've now pressed the button which allows them to.
Okay.
So I just found that it moved on the computer.
Okay.
Yeah, my internet cut out. Oh, I see Anastasia. Oh, shall I unmute everyone? Let's go crazy. Oh. Oh, unmute all. That's better. Mr. William in a nice blue shirt, looking good.